Mount Anvil is a specialist residential-led developer based and operating in central London. They've created 5,000 homes across the capital and are planning to build 2,500 more by 2018. Health and safety excellence is rooted at the core of their business. This series of videos covers a number of different topics, demonstrating and explaining the many different approaches Mount Anvil uses to achieve these high standards.
Today, I'm going to talk to you about dust. Now, before you switch off and stop listening, I'm going to tell you that dust is a lot more dangerous than we give it credit for, and that we should be paying a lot more attention to it than we currently do. When we talk about dust, the types of dust that you might consider straight off would be silica, MDF wood, but the one that you probably wouldn't consider would be asbestos. The reason that you wouldn't consider that is because it's so controlled, because quite often we don't come into contact with it, but it does exactly the same thing to your lungs that wood dust and silica dust does. There are two kinds of dust, inhalable dust and respirable dust. Inhalable dust is the stuff that you can see on the floor. It's the wood around the wood bench. But respirable dust, that's a lot harder to see. It's very, very tiny particles. When you switch a light on, you can see all of that dust in the air. And this is the stuff that's really dangerous. When you breathe in construction dust, it goes into your lungs. Your lungs can't deal with it in the same way they would a germ. They can't break down a piece of stone or a piece of wood. And what that means is as it goes into the soft tissue in your lungs, it scars. If you imagine that covering your lungs, that restricts the movement. The minute you restrict movement, you restrict your ability to breathe.
You're not going to die. You're not going to die. You'll be okay.
Occupational asthma is terrifying. Not being able to breathe, fighting for every breath, really is horrific. And here's the thing, occupational asthma is not something you are born with. It's something that you can give yourself by breathing in construction dust. If you smoke, and I ask you how many cigarettes you smoke a day, you can tell me. You can turn the packet over, and you can tell me how much nicotine, how much tar you're breathing in. But if I ask you how much construction dust you breathe in a day, you have no idea. We took a filter from a filter mask, and this was the amount of dust that came out. This was after 1 hour's use. Imagine how much you are breathing in 8 hours that you are on site. That's a lot of dust. When we look at two sets of lungs, unhealthy lungs and healthy lungs, the difference is stark. Try and imagine breathing with the unhealthy set of lungs. What would that feel like? You have no idea what your lungs look like. They're on the inside. So you can't see the scarring or the colour or the damage. You might think that it's just your lungs you have to worry about. But the fact is, there's all kinds of disorders that can be created from breathing in dust. Nervous system disorders, heart disease, bladder cancer, and yes, damage to the reproductive system. You might be fine tomorrow. You might be fine in 6 weeks. You might be okay in 6 years. It's that accumulative effect. You keep breathing this stuff in day after day, week after week, and eventually it will affect your health. Over 500 construction workers die from exposure to silica dust every single year. And every year, the number of occupational cancer cases increases by over 5,000, and that is just in the construction sector. We have to remember the consequences of dust when we are around other people, not only protecting ourselves. When you sit in the canteen covered in dust, your co-workers are breathing it in. I'm a safety coach. My job is to talk to people. Every day, I walk around construction sites and I speak to the guys I work with. And I know which of them have children. I know which football team they support. I know how many sugars they have in their tea. But I also know, because the statistics tell me so, that there is a percentage of those guys who will get occupational asthma, who will get occupational cancer. And that for me is heartbreaking. And so it's a race against time to educate people so that they know the risks and they can protect themselves. Disposable FFP masks offer varying levels of particle protection, but they're all designed for a single use of up to 8 hours. After that, they're useless, and you're no longer protected. FFP1 masks have a 25% leakage, and FFP3 masks have a 5% leakage. This is still a lot of dust going into your lungs. A respirator mask fully protects you from pathogens, radioactive substances, even viruses, and of course, respiral dust. Obviously, it costs quite a bit more than an FFP, but the filters only need to be changed monthly rather than thrown away daily. If you keep this bit of kit properly maintained and stored, the overall benefits both in cost and health are huge. And remember, with all of these masks, you need to be clean shaven to ensure that you get the full face fit. That way it doesn't leak at all. The industry is waking up to dust, which means that all the manufacturers are now producing dustless tools. So we have tools with hoovers, and we have tools that create almost no dust whatsoever. This is the way forward, and this is engineering out the problem. Your employer will save money by buying these for you if you look after them. You have a choice as to which set of lungs you want to own. I don't believe that because you chose to work in construction, that you have to accept that you get occupational asthma, that you get cancer. But I do believe that your decisions can ensure you are healthy and safe, given the right equipment and the right information.